Welcome to Modern Mythology, a podcast that explores the many intersections of story and system. In every episode, we will discuss some facet of how RPGs function as modern myths, providing a shared canvas for creativity and the collaborative discovery of new worlds. For more information about this episode, articles, or links to our other related projects, visit modernmythology.net. Episode 3, Horror and the Mundane, Traditional and Non-Traditional RPGs, and Chronicles of Darkness actual play.
So as I was saying earlier, I usually run Chronicles of Darkness in a different way from this, but either way, we're also not going to be playing this in the World of Darkness anyways, although, I mean, you know, the story that we're doing today is going to be, it could fit in World of Darkness, but it's not like heavily lodged in the lore. So, we don't usually do one-shots, but we used to do something back in the day that I thought would be interesting to do, which is actually to start with the mundane. Because I know, like, a lot of times there's it's like, oh, we have to start with the strangeness, we have to start with the weirdness for horror to be horror, but a lot of times it's about
that juxtaposition.
The juxtaposition and also kind of like the pace of it, right? The discovery process. So I was thinking about ideas for places, and I thought, well, how about two Quickie Mart gas station attendants?
It's awesome.
Set nearby, if any of you are familiar, Camp Hero or Montauk, New York, which is immersed in a lot of conspiracy theory lore and whatnot. So, you know, the session will be your 9 o'clock shift in 1995. However, even to begin with, there is going to be a little bit of a twist, which is that, you know, your characters are going to be, you know, at least the concepts that I came up with are a little different from, you know, like your average gas station attendant.
Okay.
The witness in hiding, which is someone who was once entangled in some sort of criminal case, you know, possibly a CIA informant from a cartel or something. You know, it's up to you kind of what angle you want to take that in. But they're basically in hiding. And the whole idea for this actually started out with Saul Goodman, the beginning of his show, you know, where he's in, I was like, you know what? But then, you know, the idea kind of grew from there. Discharged Ranger, someone who used to be an Army Ranger, but got discharged for one reason or another from the Army. An eccentric savant, which is basically someone who's really brilliant at something mental related, but barely able to keep a job. And it's kind of like the best, you know, night shift at the Quickie Mart. It's about what they've been able to manage. And the quote unquote reformed thief who's recently out of jail and trying to keep it straight. But, you know, old habits die hard. And of course,
great characters. Yeah, that's super fun. I love that.
And of course, if there's other concepts, that you kind of pop into your head, you know, and it's not like you're restricted to those characters, but, you know, so that's a starting point.
Guy barely able to hold it, but maybe has some larger, broader base of knowledge that we can tap into. So whatever's going on.
You know,
and the conspiracies of a local town, never been able to quite make it out, you know.
Nuclear physicist who's working at the gas station. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then I think I want to go with Scott Lang. I think I want to go with the thief just out of jail.
Okay. Yeah.
Like has every reason to stay out, but you know, I really liked what they did with this character because I really like it was relatable to be like, but I have this skill, like.
Yep.
Not so much like a weird itch where I have to steal stuff, but like I can do this so much better.
I think it takes so long to get good at one thing.
Right.
That's cool in season 1. Yeah.
I had that. My favorite line from Galaxy Quest, like, you know, I have one job. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it.
All right, cool. So from those, I didn't mark down the number of dots, just the kind of like what your highest things are likely to be. So for the reformed thief, you know, larceny, obviously, streetwise is probably likely. High dexterity is probably likely. Well, not necessary. Firearm skill, probably not, you know, like 4 or 5, but something. Contacts, quick draw, and fleet of foot for merits, that sort of thing. Would it be helpful for me to go through character creation with you? Kind of
Sure.
like explain the things, or are you familiar with them? Okay. It'd be an experiment for me too, because I don't usually approach it quite this way, but I find the system to be flexible and straightforward enough in a way that, you know, useful. So the first step is character concept. We kind of have that, but you can fill that in. Yours would be eccentric savant, and then yours, Don, would be reformed, quote unquote, thief.
Yep.
Next is anchors, which is what they call virtue and vice. In a system sense, these basically refresh your willpower, but they have a kind of more fundamental sense in terms of kind of your characters. The things that the vice is kind of the thing that they do that's easy, but it's not good for them.
Right.
And the virtue is the thing that's hard, but is good for them, is I guess the easiest way to put it. And there's like a sample list, but it can be really, it can be. So like example virtues they put down are competitive, generous, just, loyal.
So could one of my vices be maybe smokes a little too much marijuana?
Well, see, it's not so much the vices would be like ambitious, arrogant, competitive, greedy. So it could yes, but it would be the larger thing.
Concept.
Yeah, exactly. It would be the thing that drives you to smoke too much marijuana, if that makes sense.
What are some of the vice options?
They give, well, the examples they give are ambitious, arrogant, competitive, or greedy. But they're pretty clear about the examples really are just examples. So they don't give you too many of them. It's not like a complete list.
My virtue is competitive, and my vice is perfectionist.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I could see that working for your character, especially. Yeah. What kind of thief were you? Were you like
A burglar.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like wants to do safe cracking, but doesn't have a lot of opportunity to do safe cracking.
Sure.
So probably just breaks and houses.
Yeah. So cat burglar specifically. So yeah, probably. So the next thing is aspirations, which in a long running campaign would be a more important thing. And I actually oftentimes do a modified rule where there's your aspirations and your goals, and really it's just delineating the goals are your kind of campaign long, the thing that's going to change your character, and that you get a whole XP for, as opposed to break to a beat. A beat's what, 1/4 or 1/5 of an XP. But aspirations are things that you could theoretically accomplish in a session. However,
in a session,
or in theory, that doesn't actually mean you're going to accomplish every aspiration every session, but it should be something that's not this sort of long, longer term thing, which is why I like to add the longer term thing. With your characters, though, it seems like you're not going to have long term goals other than keep my job or whatever, starting out. Yeah. And the next thing is attributes.
How many aspirations can you have?
I think 3.
So I took 2 that I feel like are kind of competing. I keep out of jail and make myself proud.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like the crux of the character is whether or not they're competing or not. Do you know what I mean? Like what is going to make my son proud?
Right. Probably not stealing them, right? So for attributes, first you pick your primary, secondary, or tertiary category.
Right.
So whether it's mental, physical, or social.
Yeah, they don't have the totals written on here. What's the numbers?
Yeah, it's 5, 4, 3. But that's in addition to the 1 dot.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't actually say that in the book, and I guess because on the sheets they're already filled in, they assume. But that's the kind of thing that someone's doing it by hand. I could see. I actually had a player who I was like, "Why do you have 1s?" And you only used to get 3 1s. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah. You already start with 1.
And all right, so we have attributes. Do we do the same thing with skill?
Yes, and usually it's the same, but I don't think you're not required for it to be the same, primary, secondary, and tertiary allocation. But it usually is the same as your attributes.
And is it the same number of dots?
No, it's 11, 7, and 4.
And do you have a maximum of dots you start out with?
No. Although my usual rule of thumb is that you can only allocate 5 to one thing with the starting character. But that's not like a book rule. It's just, unless it depends on the kind of the tier of the starting characters, but certainly for your characters, it makes sense. Because 5 is basically one of the best at that thing, And I think the way they split up weapon skills are a little chunky. I usually do it differently, but we'll do it the standard way, which is that you have weaponry, brawl, as separate things.
Yeah, weaponry, brawl,
And then firearms. It's just that in like actual martial arts, like it's pretty rare that you don't have like the training is usually integrated to a certain extent. And
sure, but I think that's sort of actually kind of by design. Like if you think about like kenjutsu or something to that effect, like, and you can map those movements to Aikido, you know, and I think
well, so like like most martial art, like Bagua, for instance, was like started right here.
Exactly.
Like it's, you know, you can do all the forms and stuff without holding anything in your hand, but with just minor modifications. Usually, it's you know, so just like strength.
But I think martial arts are different than brawl.
No, you're still using brawl, just with a merit added to it.
Okay,
but
well, that's the problem.
Part of it, yeah. I'm guessing you guys aren't martial arts masters.
Oh yeah, I have 5 martial arts. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Although it is useful to have for this session to have a little bit of combat skills. I mean, you don't have to. It'd be interesting if you don't, but you see, you have your skills.
Yep.
Okay. So next is specialties. You pick 3 specialties. Those are off of your skills. You see the line, you can write it there. Basically, that's like a more smaller rate, like you know, list of things that you can do within that category. Like for instance, usually archery is a subset of firearms, or you could even have it like pistols as firearms, whatever. And basically, you get 1 extra die for the thing you're specialized in.
Can you have multiple specialties in a skill? No.
Hardest thing to do fast in this sort of format is kind of the next thing, which is merits. Just because there isn't like an overarching system for merits, it's kind of like a grab bag of they're kind of like feats, sort of like in D&D, sort of. Although also like your actual financial thing is one of the merit options. Now, one thing off the bat, resources is your money, basically. I'm guessing your characters don't have a lot of resources, although you could be independently wealthy and working for another reason.
He's working for food on Tim kind of store. So his 3 are encyclopedic knowledge, eye for the strange, and speak language when he's wanted.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets him in trouble.
Good. You have 7 dots of merits to allocate in total. So your character's really kind of a conspiracy theorist.
That's why he works.
Okay.
Nobody wants to hear him anymore.
And you do meet all kinds coming in through the door.
He's got his regulars.
Yeah.
I feel like he's sort of a Dennis Hopper, George Carlin-esque type of personality.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Just by looking at my notes, you know, because I'm so used to not running one-shots, I'm like, this is probably actually a 2-session adventure.
That was
always happens.
So I took Needlefoot, Untouchable, which makes rolls to try to investigate me 1 harder.
Okay.
Sympathetic, and Spin Doctor.
Cool.
Those are good ones.
Now you have the hardest thing. Come up with your name.
Wayne Kelly.
Okay.
Mine is Hop.
Hop. Mm-hmm. Short for anything or just Hop?
It was just one of the things that got called and just stuck, whether you liked it or not. So we call him Hop. So even though we may not want to consider a combined counter of our little mini mart.
No. Not that you know.
Sure.
Well, it's a Cookie Mart. They, I mean, they're a company, right? Although, well, that said, one of your characters could have a gun that you keep there that isn't, but the company itself doesn't supply you a gun.
Okay. Are we just plebes? Are one of us a manager?
Both of you, keep the staff on shift. Although it is up to you whether you've worked with each other, whether you know each other, or it's probably easier if you have.
I think, well, especially since I'm so affable. I think that
You're like sarcastic.
No, I'm really
Actually, Apple?
Yeah, I'm really very charming.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were really like trying to stay to yourself.
No, I have sympathetic. I have decent. I have foreign manipulation.
Yeah.
People even listen to my conspiracy stories.
Yeah, and we talk about our kids. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like we come in with like our work and like,
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
So we'll kind of skip over some of the like character backstory bullshit for now because
he was an academic and he got drummed out of academics and been frustrated ever since. It's convinced.
Nice.
There's basically a life conspiracy against him.
I love this session. Okay. What does your character look like?
He is African American. He's got a afro that's pretty much turning white, but he's in good shape. He's not. But he's probably in his 40s, mid 40s at this point.
Okay.
With a name like Blaine, it's very white. It's very white bread, but still low income, would have probably been better looking if he had the background to support that, short brown hair, very nondescript, like basic white,
Well, like Dennis Leary.
let's say
Like a younger Dennis Leary.
very much younger than
Yes. Okay. So, like I said, you're both on shift at 9:00, and then it begins like any other day, pretty much. You're stocking. You have a couple truckers and meth heads that come in around 9. Not they're already coming in pretty, quote unquote early. You have the night shift, so you're going to be on for a while. So you're kind of just hunkering in for it. When the bell at the front of the door goes off, and someone kind of stumbles in. He kind of looks like a vagrant, to put it simply. He's got like long, wild hair, and he's just kind of staring at the ceiling for a little while.
While we don't necessarily have a supervisor-employee relationship, because I'm the kind of person who's just trying to keep my head low, and I'm just trying to do my job and keep my head down, I pretty much do anything that anybody asks me. You know what I mean? And I'm definitely behind the deli with the hairnet, because maybe you might not be down wearing a hairnet.
Right. Well, I'm assuming at a register, so I'll say, "Can I help you?"
He looks up at you like you just suddenly realized that where he was. And you notice he's wearing a military jacket, and he has a symbol on the front of it that you immediately catches your eye. I mean, your eye in particular. You're like, that's an occult symbol. It's demonic. But, it is, the 90s.
Right.
And he comes up to you and he just kind of nods. And he says, the chair, the children.
What about the chair and the children?
He kind of mumbles to himself a little more. And then he says, you'll find out. He gets up and turns around and walks out the front door.
Is anybody else in the minibar?
Not when he's in there, no.
Okay, so I come from around the corner to see where he's walking off to.
He's walking, it's like, good intuition. He walks up the door and he seems like he went around the back and he's walking straight into the woods. And you in particular know those woods go out to a military base. It's like, you're not supposed to go there. You might even have chosen this particular place because of that military base. It's called Camp Hero, probably poorly named. There's been rumors brewing for a little while with your occult skill. What's your occult skill?
My occult skill is 2.
Okay, you have specialization in 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you definitely would hear at least that there's rumors of secret experiments being done there and so on. It's kind of like a hot spot. You're not even that far from Long Island, but it's suspicious anyways.
Not wanting him to get in trouble, I go, slushies are buy one, get one free.
That's a good at the door.
I'm just
I
watching.
have to say that to him.
All right.
So how far away is he from? I mean, I'm not going to confront him, but I am watching, keeping an eye on him.
Oh, I mean, let's see, chasing after him. He's walking near the fifth cliff.
He's walking in the field.
But he's kind of making a beeline right for the woods.
Come, somebody else is in this first. All right, come. That man had a demonic symbol on his jacket. And then he's just walking over to the military base. What do you think that's all about?
Don't you have to mop the floor?
Man, something's going on over there. I don't like that. Things. And then I turn around and go back in.
Yeah. And as you're going in, you swear you hear this sort of high-pitched buzzing sound. Kind of just like in the air, like electrical sound almost.
Does he hear it?
Doesn't react.
Do you hear that sound?
I clearly do. And I'm like, It's not. It's bugs. Bugs.
So I'm now thinking like, what might that be? So I'm trying to connect it to my cold skills or and my knowledge of the military base or the local politics.
Sure.
Does anything make sense about that?
Yeah, it should actually be an opportunity for you to use that merit that you have.
Encyclopedic knowledge or
Yes.
I am for the strange.
Encyclopedia. Oh, I kind of thought that encyclopedia knowledge. So what I was thinking of. You make intelligence plus withdrawal. Yeah, there you go.
Intelligence and withdrawal is 4 is.
Doesn't matter. They're all 10s.
And I got
So you get 1 success. Yeah, at least with the second edition CoD rules.
okay.
In an earlier edition, you subtracted 1s from the roll.
Okay.
But that's, yeah.
And it's you're looking for 8s or more.
Yes, 8 or higher. And a 10, on a standard roll, 10, you roll again and the successes. There are certain things you can get 9 again or 8 again. But, so yeah, you have heard about Montauk, and supposedly, probably on some, BBS of the time, it was really terrible last year. There was a lot of group, people talking about something called the Montauk chair, which is a device designed to amplify psychic powers and manipulate reality. And you'll be damned, that's the Montauk chair.
That's the Montauk chair. I'm telling you, that's the Montauk chair.
It's for your character too, because it's totally deranged.
That's a Montauk chair. That's every time I hear that sound, how does it sound? I'm thinking it's a Montauk chair.
Like looking around. Do we have a supervisor on the
You
ship?
do, but he, it's like someone who somes in at the beginning of the ship and then leaves right away and basically calls to make sure things are okay.
Yeah, and the police, the one police car in town just passed by, and I was like, what are you rambling about?
Montauk chair, man. In this neighborhood, you had that base, and there was this base, and they were doing crazy experiments on there. They were doing crazy experiments, and one of the things was the Montauk chair, which was supposedly designed to amplify, psychic abilities. And I'm telling you, every time I hear that, I think they turn that thing on.
Psychic abilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are both of you kind of still standing outside, or are you inside the...
I feel like we're in the door.
They're under the door.
Yeah, I was going to close the door, but
Perfect. So you're talking about this, and while you're talking over his shoulder, you notice a bunch of birds, big black birds, sitting kind of in a semicircle in front of the dumpster, but they're all facing you, just kind of looking at you.
I don't know this is going on.
No, yes, no.
oh, you're
Just because you're talking and kind of see it over his shoulder.
Swinging the whole Montauk chair, and you're just not really buying it.
And you see these creepy birds staring you down.
Yeah, I take him by the shoulder and I usher him into close the door and lock it.
Okay. You lock it, huh?
Is there an expectation in this game that we all have some sort of supernatural connection? I know there were versions that back in the day, there were versions of what was your supernatural?
If you're playing Mortal, no, there's
Okay.
You can take more merits that are telepathy and stuff, but for the most part, it's
Strange. I considered it, but I decided not to play it straight. It makes it a little more challenging getting somebody into.
kind of, but it makes I think it works to have one character who's like that kind of as a
He's a
foil.
straight man,
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and I hand you him up.
All right. And then I'm like, yeah, I know. So I'm mopping, and I check to see if that guy's coming.
Do you unlock the door, or you keep it locked?
After a little while, I'll unlock, look around, and then unlock it, and the bird's still there.
No, when you go back to unlock it, the birds aren't there.
Okay, then I feel comfortable.
All right.
Yes.
So you unlock it, and a few minutes later, when you glance outside for the birds, you don't see the birds, but you see a bunch of dogs sitting where the birds were.
So I go,
I'm in the back.
yeah. So I look, and I go, hey, hold up, he's gone. I'm saying it trying to be, trying to be quiet,
Okay. So I come up, got my mop stick.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah,
you look, you see a number of dogs by the dumpster, but by the time you've got, like, when you were looking at them, they were all kind of sitting at attention and look very like they're like demonic dogs, right? But then, you look and you see some dogs. There are a lot of them, but they're kind of rummaging in the dumpster.
Yeah. It's like, what did you want to trash before that shit coming out? I don't know.
all standing in a line.
Oh, man, you need to stop smoking that stuff.
And their eyes were glowing red.
Seriously?
Yes.
I didn't even say that, so that's great.
I feel like the light.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's perfect.
But he's got me freaked out like that.
So I look back at this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not about to call them over or anything like that. So I just watch them for a little bit and see if they do anything else strange. Are they going through trash?
Yes, they are now. Yeah.
I'm like, they're just doing what dogs do, as far as I can tell. I mean, I am intrigued, but unless they do something else, it's just dogs going to trash.
You ponder it for a moment. The doorbell, the ding, when it opens, happens again. This time, guy comes in. He looks like a trucker type. He's kind of like heavy set. He goes over and he asks for cigarettes.
Do we know him?
No, he haven't
He's
seen
not
him.
local.
No.
I'll, do as, kind you want.
Mm-hmm.
Pull down the thing. And,
Yeah. He asks for Marlboro Reds. He gets the cigarettes, and the phone rings while you're doing that.
And I tell him that there's a special 3 for $5 or 5 for $3,
It's back then, dollars.
So while he's doing that, I put down my mop, and then go over and I pick up the towel.
Okay. So this answers your question about your manager. It's your manager, Deborah, on the phone. She said, "Hey, it's Deborah. I'm checking in."
So everything's pretty great, pretty normal. So just a regular night, kind of quiet.
She said, "Have you seen the news?"
No.
It's kind of strange. There's a story that's running about missing people in the area, and then apparently they're doing a military training exercise nearby. So I don't know if you see military people or something, it might be related to that. But
A training exercise? What kind of training exercise?
they didn't say on the newscast.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll keep it
I
out.
don't think I'm walking uncomfortable pause. She's like, "No, you don't need to go check it out. It's just."
I'm just saying I'll keep it up. It's strange going on.
can't tell her about the dogs.
She's like, she's kind of half hears something in the background. She's like, "Was that? What's your picture's name? Was that Blaine?
Oh, I'm going to put Blaine on the phone with you. He's a little different style. And then I had him talk.
Has he been drinking?"
We're out of creamer.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to end these. How long have these hot dogs been on this roller?
Probably too long. You should probably change them.
We'll do.
All right, that's it. Because it sounded like
No, I said dogs. I said tell her about the dogs.
the hot dogs. Okay. All right. Well, it sounds good. I'm gonna be going to sleep soon, so don't bother me. Thanks.
As I say, have a good clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll go clean out the hot dogs. I contemplate eating one.
So
Lundy, what do you think's going on over the military base?
I feel like I turn around and I have a hot dog. I have zero willpower. Like I have.
well, you weren't joking about having one, and
What?
you were having a one in composure.
I'm not joking. I have one component and one resolve.
Oh my god! Okay.
I have such a push out.
That's amazing.
I'm just waiting for him to be like, let's go over there. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea while we're going up there. That's probably how I got caught because my buddies like convinced me that I should take the fall. Because otherwise they would not have caught me.
Okay. All right. The phone rings again. Probably about 20 minutes later.
So I, get up from my restocking, and then I go answer the telephone. Many more, hack it up.
Like someone breathing heavily on the other end. Not saying
I
that.
got time for this. What do you need?
The heavy breathing kind of turns into whimpering, and then just silence on the phone.
This is a strange night. I have to talk.
What was it?
Heavy breathing, then whimpering, and then just silence on the other side. Why they call it?
Just tell Jethro that Anne is not working tonight.
Okay, I'll tell them. I'll tell them.
The phone rings like seconds after you hang it up.
Like, your turn. I go back to in my Twizzlers.
All right. So you hear heavy breathing on the phone again yourself for a moment, but then you hear like a voice. It sounds like a child, like a relative, like maybe 9, 10, he's just like, help us, we're still here. And the phone goes dead.
Somebody talked.
What they say?
They said, help us. We're still here.
Where?
I don't know. Some kid. Like,
Star 69, call them up.
oh, Star 16. Totally going to do Star 69. By the way, I feel like we should have like a disclaimer for this episode and describe what these things are. In case the audience
Doesn't know what Star 69 is. Is that a sex move? Yeah.
Star 69 allows you to dial the last phone number that rang you. So yeah, I'll do Star 69.
Okay.
Sex.
You hear like it rings a couple times and you hear a click. And there's a voice on the other end that's, kind of officious sounding, saying basically that it's Camp Hero. And if you, like to leave a message after the phone, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a dial tone, not like a beep for you to leave a message. It's a dial tone.
They don't need to leave a message.
Yeah. It's like a line got cut or something.
It was just it was just a base after hours message.
So you said the child called and said that they're still there? Come and get them? And they're on the base? And they weren't there when you called back?
No.
I don't like this.
You hear a ding again, door opens, guy comes in.
We're both like standing next to the phone.
Right.
We both like look over.
Yeah. The guy's got kind of like he's got a beard, got a bandana over his head. You see a truck outside that has got like hunting rifles on it.
The pickup.
Yeah.
Again, not a local.
Not
a regular.
He is a local. His name's Dennis. He comes in here sometimes. But only on certain seasons. He mentioned once or twice that he lives upstate and he's visiting family when he comes down. But anyways, usually it goes up, he gets some beer.
I'll greet him and we'll part ways and be like, hey Dennis, how you doing? The ham doesn't smell too bad today.
It's like, yeah, it smelled bad before.
The ham, the Virginia ham.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but if you want some of the venison,
my mother would love a couple more burgers.
Absolutely. And he looks like he's about to say something else, and then the lights go off. But not just in here, the lights outside the gas station also are kind of flickering before they kick back on there's a short-term gas generator. But yeah. And at the same time, you hear that same electrical crackling sound, but it was a little louder, but it's kind of fast. It's like static and then no sound.
I look at it. What's Dennis?
He looks completely, he's just kind of the light goes off and he's like, power outage? There's no wind.
And I say, hold on just a second. So I grab my broom or my mop and I go walking towards the front of the thing to look. Now you said, I know there's woods, but is there a way to see? And as I'm going, I'm like, this is probably that military base. This is probably connected to that. And then so I go,
they're doing out there.
I don't know. It's just something they shouldn't be doing. No. But so then I go outside. Mm-hmm. First I look to see if the dogs are outside.
No dogs.
All right. So I go outside and I see if I can see any of the lights from the military base from here. I know there's deep woods.
No, you can't. I mean, you can't usually. It's at least a couple miles back through the woods. But you do see some movement by the woods. It's kind of dark. Do you want to make a perception check at Switch Force Composure?
The two of us are watching him as he walks. Mm-hmm. He's walking that way. And I'm saying we're over near Dennis's truck now, as we go outside.
Okay.
And I'll ask, while he's doing that, I'll ask Dennis, what has he out here this late? And while he's doing so, I'm going to reach back and grab one of the guns. And just tuck it.
Oh, that's it. I mean, they're rifles. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
With some composure.
Nope. You can't really make out what it is at first.
Oh, this thing.
So you're going to need to try to conceal that from him. Do you have subterfuge?
I do have subterfuge and I have larceny.
Are you trying to steal it? Or are you trying to hide it?
Well, I'm hiding it so I can steal it.
Mm-hmm. This is exactly kind of what I was getting at with subterfuge, and it's one of those skills I feel like
Whichever one is fine by me.
and that's
I mean, larceny is much, much better, but it makes sense that while my execution might have been flawless, the hiding part is probably the more. But I am trying to distract him with what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm clearly concerned about whatever. I'm like, hey, there's something moving in those, but I'm not trying to be. I mean, so I feel like you got a good chance because everybody's going to be looking over there,
Right.
where I am.
yeah. I'll give manipulation plus larceny.
Manipulation plus larceny?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, it's not so much because he is looking the other way at first. It's not so much like a dex thing where it's just about your.
Because then I'm just using my body to.
Yeah.
Do y'all see that? See what's going on in that book?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I just go. So I'm like, so what you doing out here at 9:00 at night?
Yeah. You have a hunting rifle that's, very well stowed. And he's peering in the darkness where you're looking.
Yeah.
And you're sure that something horrible is going to come out of the forest. Like,
you're going back to
you're scared. But you see 3 relatively small forms approaching, kind of, running towards you, actually. And
towards me. I'm not having
they're child size.
better than the child.
Okay. So,
fool.
Turns and runs inside.
But then I'm about to lock the door too.
But you're still standing out there
with Dennis.
Right.
Dennis is in front of me.
Yeah. So you see 3 children kind of approaching rather quickly. Children. I mean, one of them's kind of either teenager or preteen, and then the other 2 are a little younger. It's a girl and 2 girls and a boy. The 3 of them kind of run up to you and says, they are wearing very tight, like orange jumpsuits, basically. Like they're not wearing normal clothes. So that's a good question.
Tight orange. It's the tight.
Yeah. Well, not like, comfortably tight, but they're jumpsuits and they're kind of like elastic. So they're almost like if someone tried to poorly design, like, someone without very much kind of sewing skill, maybe the early crew from Star Trek, did basically like, costumes for them, like to be like X-Men kind of like, they're like superhero, like spandex sort of, but like not very well fitted or designed. Yeah.
I'm sort of curious to see what Dennis is doing.
Mm-hmm. He seems like he's kind of like confused by the whole scene. That's kind of why you notice his rifle's missing, or one of his rifles are missing. And he looks at the kids. He said, "Where did you come from?"
The base where you just had. Did you just call me?
No, but that might have been our friends.
There's more of you?
Older one says, yeah. There's a group of us.
I'm sitting there looking at the door, looking at.
I say, get some ices or get some Slurpees.
Through the door, like, I'm not going out there. Fucking.
But they look normal. They look normal.
I mean, aside from what they're wearing, they look normal.
Well, that's a bit of concern for me. And they did just come out of.
They're also their heads are completely shaved, also, but
they're not normal kids. She's using my teeth, but I'm not so I go and grab the icings.
Okay. They seem happy, for you to put like. We're not usually allowed sugar, but that's. Yeah, what the hell?
We give the Slurpees an old hot dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they all get brain freezes. So the older one introduces herself as Lena and says, "This is Billy and Tara." Billy is clutching some sort of stuffed animal, but it seems like he's had it for so long that it's like not really clear what kind of animal it is anymore. Just a kind of a fluff ball, and he seems, pretty terrified. He's kind of crouching. Tara is pale and has an almost robotic demeanor to her. She's kind of very like, alert and aware, but very quiet.
I ask Dennis to help usher them inside. Mm-hmm. And then as I picture that there's the corner of the, it's obviously a brick building, right? The corner of the brick building. And so like, as we're going towards the front door, I'll like surreptitiously prop the gun on the blind wall.
Yeah, sure.
As we all go.
Nice. Yeah, and then Dennis comes inside too. He's like, I'm not staying out there. It's kind of creepy out there right now. There's no lights in town either. You see that?
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
So we feed the kids, see that they have a story.
And I am right by that front door.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at that front door. I'm like, somebody's going to come looking for these kids.
Do you lock the door?
So I locked the door. But now it's sticking my head
Not
outside.
open anymore without power, right?
I go, I go to Dennis.
The tower's still up in our building?
Yeah.
It didn't come
Well,
back.
the generator's on, but the power was out.
Power's out. Yeah, so our backup generator kicked in.
Okay.
So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say to Dennis, I'm going to say, what was I thinking? These hot dogs are terrible. Dennis, go get the kids a couple of Twinkies.
He's kind of grunts. Seems happy and wants to have something to do.
Yeah.
And starts hunting for it.
And then I'm going to whisper to him, like, because he's not going to go out. Should I go get the gun or do you want to get the gun?
Yeah.
I don't got to.
I mean, you could ask Dennis too, but
I don't know. That's to get his own gun. I don't know that. This is weird. I don't even have firearms. Does this feel a little safer having a gun?
he'd have two, in fact.
So I sent Dennis down the aisle to go get Twinkies, something healthier for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, go bring in the gun and put it behind the register.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go do that real fast.
Right.
And then because I have some familiarity with firearms, I'm going to actually check and see if it's loaded because a lot of times people have guns in their cars.
Okay. They're not loaded, but he does have ammunition.
In his truck.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of his hunting truck, so he got a lot of.
You gonna go to his truck and get the ammo?
Yeah, he's not ambitious.
No, I'm keeping him locked.
Yeah. I'll go and grab it. Yeah.
Okay.
Just a box of shells.
Okay. So yeah, Lena does have a story. She's definitely the most outspoken and also the oldest of them. While she's talking, I'll tell you what she tells you. But while she's talking, you noticed pretty quickly that she has like a bunch of bruises, like pretty serious ones, like the long part of her leg, and then you kind of gets cut off by her pants, and also on her back. But they don't seem like it's not like from someone like whipping her or something. It seems like a kind of blunt force trauma sort of thing. Like,
Do I see this too?
yeah. When she's talking,
What happened to your leg?
it's training at the base is very intense.
Now I'm peaked. Now I'm really curious. Right? This is
For what?
Well, it's kind of a long story. The tall man, he kind of runs the base. Well, no, he doesn't run the base. He runs our program, she says. And Evelyn, I guess you could say she's probably the best of us in terms of what he wants us to do. She went into the chair. I'm sure your ears.
Yeah, my eyes go wide.
And something terrible happened. I don't know. She went in there like she usually does. Usually we are given instructions of something we're supposed to hunt for with our minds. Sometimes it's just like a number or a word. It's like nonsense sometimes, but sometimes Evelyn's very good at picking out details where she can be given those little tiny things, and then she gives them intelligence that apparently is useful. She went in there this time and things were different. She didn't come back, she says, and she kind of starts crying a little bit.
Wow.
By the way, this is a big moment for me because, half my character's life has been like, things are going on. This town is not straight up. This is all validation of all the things he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was laughing when you were like, kind of, you're fulfilling your character concept. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a real trip for them.
Yeah.
It's all true.
It's all true. Yeah.
Or is he didn't grab the tinfoil?
Says, and then after she's been crying for a moment, she kind of pulls herself together and she's like, Evelyn sacrificed herself for us, but it still didn't stop things.
I'm just trying to live there.
Yeah. I'm guessing you don't have like high empathy or anything like that, right?
No.
I didn't think so.
I guess, do we call Opie?
Remember?
No, Opie. Cops.
No, call. Yeah, let's call Opie. Yeah, for sure. Because Deborah said no call anyway.
Right.
Sorry.
You pick up the phone, it's dead.
Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen.
You've been watching too many horror films.
I'm living in horror film. Don't you know? This is what we're living in right now.
Did you lock the door?
Yes.
I think you did. So
Wait. How does that work if there's a question whether or not he locked the door?
Yeah, because I'm not sure. Right. I haven't not say I locked the door.
Right.
Because I went back out to get the ammunition, so I don't think I locked the door.
Okay. All right. So in that case, then,
Because I'm sitting there hearing this conspiracy.
are you still outside?
Nope.
No,
I
I'm
didn't say
wearing
back
with the kids. Yeah.
You didn't lock it.
He stowed the gun and the ammo behind them.
Okay. So then you hear the door bing.
I like my head snaps towards the door, and I give you a look.
You see a really pale man, and then you realize it's the the man that had been here earlier, the first person that came in. And he's standing there, his hair is wild, and he's kind of standing there with his hands out, and he lifts up and opens up his mouth, and you see a proboscis kind of extend from his mouth, and his eyes kind of bug out.
How far away is he from us?
How far are you from the door? Because he just kind of came in the door and he's just kind of
I
standing.
feel I imagine this as two counters. One is the deli counter, and the other one is the register.
Yeah.
It's two registers, probably. I've worked in two
Right.
stores. And I figure we're probably over in front of the deli and mirror to the freezer section. So first off, is there any kind of horror roll or
There is a breaking point roll, which is my question would be, and the way this is usually established is would this be something that would give your character a breaking point? And I think in the case of your characters, it's probably yes, but it's still kind of your call about that.
I think my characters would, this is, yeah.
Because I played some campaigns with hard-boiled characters where it's he got shot right in front of me. And it's yeah, but I'm an assassin, but in this case, yeah.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is a very exciting night.
That's exciting. So yes, so then
careful what you wish for.
right, exactly. So anyway, it's actually a resolve plus composure, +1 because your integrity is 1. Or 7.
Plus your integrity?
No, +1 because your integrity is 7.
Okay. +1 die.
Yeah.
So
Resolve plus composure +1.
5.
Oh, it's actually, it would be +1, but you're witnessing the supernatural that might count here. So that's -1, so it balances out. So it's just resolve plus composure. Oh my God.
I didn't tell you 8. You got 2 8s. What? Nice.
Let's see. So it says, basically you might feel upset by what happened, but you can cope.
Well, I'm gonna
You either take guilty, shaken, or spooked as a condition.
Guilty, shaken, or spooked. I will take shaken.
Yeah, guilty doesn't seem to fit in this case.
I'll take shaken.
Okay.
You failed then.
I failed.
Okay.
I feel hard.
You got a 1? Oh, we got a 1. That's a critical failure.
I think you grabbed one of the kids.
Hold the phone up.
Hiding behind the kids. Oh my God.
I'm gonna dive behind.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I'm not saying it's an honorable thing to do. I mean, I really caught off guard. I was a little upset.
Later on, my friend's woman,
There's a kid between me and that monster.
I'm gonna dive behind the counter and try to scramble. This is a double-edged sword. On one hand, I'm trying to get the gun ready and so forth. On the other hand, I've blocked my view of everything that's going on behind.
I should also mention that there are knives not too far from where you
Sure.
I thought you were better. But
Oh, yeah. This is dumb. This is Americana, sort of but I have a gun,
Right.
And I'm just trying to, I've spilled the box of rounds onto the floor, and I'm just trying to figure out how to load them.
I will detail what happens with you in a second.
Yeah.
Let's give you
But
shaken.
also, don't forget Dennis's nervous. Yeah, not my proudest. But that's been my character.
Shaken. Something has frightened your character extensively. Anytime your character is taken in action where that fear might hinder her, you may opt to fail the roll and shed the condition. Yeah.
So certainly spilling the ammo and taking actual time could be opting to fail the condition.
Dramatic failure. The character's worldview has been damaged.
My what? My what?
Your worldview, perhaps beyond the repair. The character suffers from traumatic stress, lose a dot of integrity, so integrity goes down to 6, and choose from the following conditions, or create a new one. Broken, fugue, or madness.
I get to choose one of those?
Mm-hmm. Or create a new one, but yeah.
Broken, fugue, or what is fugue?
Fugue state is kind of like...
Dream, like you just...
Yeah, let me see if the rule.
It's not kind of time.
Something terrible happened, and rather than deal with it or let it break you, your mind shuts it out. You're prone to blackouts and lost time. Whenever circumstances become too similar to the situation that led you to gain this condition, you must make a resolve plus composure check. If you fail, the storyteller controls your character for the next scene.
I think kind of coming to fugue state adds a little bit of extra drama into it. Okay. So he goes, oh, and he just faints. He just completely faints on the floor. I told you.
So you roll initiative in a second, but Dennis notices that you have his rifle that are loading it. And you see the expressions on his face. Like at first he's furious, and then he's like happy. It's like he's like,
you went my God,
but fuck you, my God. Right. So he runs over in your direction.
Okay.
Because this guy who came in, like it seems like he had his head back and he's kind of like fighting for a moment, like against something, which gives you a chance to sort of position yourself. So you're going with him behind the counter.
I'm behind the counter. And this is how he knows now that because I've spilled the rounds on the ground. And at first, when he comes around, I'm not really paying attention. And like I may slap his hand away for a second and then go, oh wait, no, here. I can hand it to him. I'm just keeping this for you.
All right. So it's time to roll initiative, I'm guessing. Unless you're trying to run or you're going to try to fight him.
It's so hillbilly that he knows what his gun is like. Well,
or something else. Yeah. You don't have to fight.
I mean, I'm letting Dennis fight him. I'm just going to stay on the floor behind the counter.
Mm-hmm. And you're passed out, right?
I'm passed out. I'm completely... I think the term is I fell out.
I am absolutely shocked that I'm actually capable right now. That actually was okay. Yeah, so I'll shake it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so your round is basically like fumbling around. Not doing... All right. And the kids are pretty close by where you are.
One thing, you may know that I actually have a gun someplace. Either on my person or someplace because...
Oh, yeah, because I totally think you're like, look at like when you got it, I feel like you were like, so...
I'm wasn't any anymore. Oh, no.
Right. And you say that under your breath constantly.
I thought, man, rules could shout to me the rules all the time, but I'm not working on it all nights of the hour. I don't know.
All right. So the man, if we're calling him that at this point, charges towards you. And Dennis, much more adept with the gun than you, lines up a shot. The bullet from a rifle slams in the guy's shoulder and blows his arm like back and up, and like probably would have ripped it off normally. But you see this sort of chitinous like exoskeleton underneath.
It's like the skin is sort of like peeled away from the exoskeleton.
Yeah, exactly.
Or endoskeleton?
I guess, yeah. It's not really but maybe there's something underneath the the endoexoskeleton. Yeah, so, and the proboscis is still sticking out of his mouth, and he's kind of like running towards, basically his focus was on you, but when he got shot and knocked over, his focus goes to Dennis. And he leaps up and over.
Oh God, he's going over the counter?
Yeah. It's much more dexterous than you would expect. Like he's able to leap over a counter.
Yeah.
It's actually with too much force and flies kind of over Dennis, who kind of ducks and like hits the wall and falls.
Cigarettes.
Yeah. The things falling everywhere. Yeah.
I'm going to, now that I have my composure-ish, I'm going to run and I'm going to kind of scoop up the kids. For a very short period of time, grab his shirt and like drag him a little bit. And it's like too slow. Like, I can't, I'm sorry. I'm running behind going, sorry. And I'm going to usher them into the freezer.
All right. So you're going towards the freezer, bro.
Yeah.
All right. So Dennis is kind of left alone with this guy, huh?
He's not quite alone. I just can't help.
Go, Dennis.
Go, Dennis. Go.
So this is interesting. Like there's this sort of there's this sort of NPC on NPC action.
I know,
Right.
yeah.
Is there a means which you can just say what happens? Is there?
Roll for it.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
it's the easy. I mean, the standard way. I mean, you could also just make a determination. I'm just trying to say if he would go for the knife nearby. Yeah, probably. So he basically, because you're like, on the counter, sort of, you're probably like making sandwiches or whatever. He grabs a knife and stabs at the thing, and it does hit in the chest. But again, like kind of peeled some skin away. It's like almost like just like a coat on top of it to speed a little bit more, and it kind of bounces off of the armor, and then the thing. Oh, Jesus!
That's bad.
I rolled 3 attempts in a row.
I got such big wings. Oh!
The thing stands up and plunges its proboscis into Dennis's side.
Really?
Now, at that point, basically, you go into the other room.
It's a freezer.
Right.
And I'm gonna close the door and roll one of the freezer racks in front of me.
Lena says, "What about your friend?"
Yeah. So stay here. And
She's like, she pulls on your coat, says, "No." She says, "Open the door." And she looks at Billy and says, "Billy, do it now. Billy, do it now. Open the door."
I just closed it. I do.
Billy kind of looks at her, and she kind of stares back at him, and he puts his hand to his head and more dramatic that way. If you just failed, it would be him going like this, and nothing happening. And so your body kind of you're kind of still semi-conscious. You're just kind of hiding almost. So you feel yourself kind of just being pulled along the floor towards
Hands up in the air. Maybe getting ready.
Like a girl.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you don't know what it is, but you hear sound from wherever Dennis was.
I knew this was happening.
I'll come in.
And by the time you basically in the room and you're able to shut the door, Bill is kind of shaking and from the effort and finally stops and kind of he kind of goes into himself. He goes into his own little fugue state, goes down and kind of starts rocking back and forth.
But I look at you after your display.
I'd love to regain some composure here if there's an opportunity to, use my Keto level 2.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can take actions now. It's just that, when something happens, it seems like it would trigger it. I can make you do a resolve plus composure check.
And my thought is that we would go down the other side, right? Because it's along the wall, and look through the milk.
Okay.
Through the door into what's going on with Dennis.
All right.
I assume I have some relatively junky piece of some sort of weapon, either a revolver or some semi-automatic, probably 7 rounds or 5 rounds, or something like that. And I check it and make sure it's ready to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to collect myself.
Okay.
This moment.
So you're going around to look through the milk, basically. Yeah. So you have to kind of squeeze a bit to kind of get a good angle to see. It's not really ideal for that, but you can see some movement behind the counter, some blood spattered against the wall, and doesn't seem like the thing that's feeding on Dennis or doing whatever to him has taken his attention off of him at all.
What the hell is that? So I said,
I know. Take out your cell phone and get a picture of it. Because no one's going to believe us.
Cell phone.
Sit down, kidding.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's like,
Oops. I say to the kids, what the hell is that?
Tara, the one who's kind of a little robotic, says, that's one of the things that came through what did you call it? She says to Lena. And says, hole to nowhere. That's what came out. They came out of the hole from nowhere. I don't know how to explain it though. Really, it's like a black hole that you just look at it. It's a black hole. You turn to the side, it's gone. No, it's like a pancake that's so thin you can't see it when you're on the side.
The kids are up there.
There used to be 24 of us, 25. I don't know how many there are now.
Did something happen with Did that then come through and start hurting people in there?
Those things.
Things.
Yes.
More than one?
Well, we have to get out of here. I think that says we have to get kind of cutting off for Friday. We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here now.
Just going to say the next word I'm not going to because they're coming. All right. So I grab my little piece, then the circle around to Dennis' truck. That's how we can.
Yeah,
the problem is we just don't really have the keys.
Okay. And normally I'd make you do a stealth roll, but he's pretty distracted right now.
Okay.
Making babies.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get into the car with the kids. You kind of have to, like, some of them have to sit in the back the truck, basically, but there is room. So
I'm also going to hop up there just in case, that thing comes out of the front door, some front door. And I'm also looking in that woods, see if anything else is coming out of that woods.
You don't see anything at the moment, but it's still dark, and also the streetlights are out.
Yeah.
I'll have it in the truck.
All right. Maybe I check. Dex plus larceny.
Dex plus larceny.
I would think it'd be one of your best skills, but
1, 2, 3. 3 successes.
okay. Yeah, this is easy for you, pretty much. Power. In fact, you kind of feel like it's like an old habit coming back. You're like, I need to do this more often. No, I don't need to do this.
No, I don't need to.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not worried about getting in trouble for this right now.
Right.
So the truck kicks into action, and
We'll drive.
yeah, you start driving down the road. That's the end of the scene. So, like I said, this is actually probably feels like a good like kind of like two-parter, because then the next one is like flying to the base, going exploring it and that sort of thing.
That's cool.
I only allowed myself an hour of prep time, which is
great.
very unlike my usual approach, where it's like 3 months and we're ready to start.
I like the dogs. I like the birds. That was all good stuff.
There's a couple of little jokes, Montauk Project was one of the things I wanted to kind of explore with it, and then as I started looking into that, I was like, oh, wait, why does this keep reminding me of Stranger Things? And I was like, oh, yeah, because Stranger Things was partially based on the Montauk Project.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So Evelyn, 11. There's a little bit of it was not just that, but that was one of the things.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, the chair reminded me of, it reminded me of OA. But then it also,
I think they probably got that inspiration from there too.
Yeah, and also reminded me of the chair from Constantine.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of a format that I've enjoyed. I've done a number back when we were doing more one-shots. These we did a bunch that were like a scenario, like with this one where it's like, starting in a convenience store. But a number of them wound up being untimely. Like there's one, we did the starting point was, basically make a character that would believably be boarding a plane in, I can't remember what the year was, but some year, and so, we did and everything, but then the story was that the plane was hijacked by terrorists and flown into the Pentagon. This game ran about a month before 9/11.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So when that happened, I lived in upstate New York. I thought my friends in New York. I called my friend Jason, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, how the hell,
Wow.
It was intense, just kind of one of those little coincidences.
For cons, the one that I would run occasionally was you're all escaped from an insane asylum. Mental asylum.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. And we did group therapy where you start in group therapy.
Yeah.
And then someone else in the building starts to break out.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that we may want to just address is ethnic voices.
Okay.
Because, I use a quote, a character who's African American, and I use ethnic voices. Now, for a radio audience, I am African American, so that's not cultural appropriation. Rather, but it does raise the interesting question of cultural appropriation. So for me, the model that I have is actually one of my boxing coaches. Who that is his vernacular. That's the way he presents to the world. That's the way he carries himself. And I have the utmost respect for this guy, so I'm not trying to, be disparaging, but I am trying to keep it entertaining and fun. And I don't think there's, generally speaking, a problem of if you have good intentions. What do you guys feel about that?
I agree with you, but also feel like my opinion probably is the most important on it because I'm a white guy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's some of it's been problematic in terms that like I struggle trying to figure out what to do when I have a Call of Cthulhu scenario sandwich with it. So I'm like, should because that's set in a real place. What are we speaking? How are we speaking it? And you don't want to go with the English, sort of crap. But on the other hand, there's some colloquialisms and, the stereotypical Yakuza boss, the Japanese have a very, very distinctive tonal quality as they speak.
Absolutely.
But it's it's
I guess you just find line root.
Yeah.
And make sure that group is okay. Because personally, I think that adds, as long as it's being done respectful, I think it adds to the experience. It doesn't take away from the experience. And occasionally somebody's going to do an accent and it's going to be terrible. So now they'll will. So we can all go along with them.
Yeah, I mean that's the character voice thing is a larger conversation. But I definitely feel like that people having, in a broader sense, kind of that they feel like they're supposed to do that or being pushed to it could be an issue. But if it's something that someone's good at or something someone feels like is adding to their character or helping them get in character for that matter,
that's true. That's what that did for me because I'm the savant. I have all this experience and knowledge, and nobody's listening to it. But I've been talking about it for 20 years, and all of a sudden, this was my moment tonight. This is all where it comes from.
It's actually fucking true. God damn it. Everyone listen to it.
And you would only test that.
This is your moment.
Again, this is a traditional RPG. To ask some of the questions we've asked of the other games.
Right.
What of this game do you guys feel hit home? What brings the horror from the mechanics that we played? What brings the horror in?
Well, trying to hit 8's pretty horrifying on a D10 for a successful. That didn't go for me too well. But I thought the system lent itself to figuring out what you needed to roll pretty easily. And I think it's very fluid in that sense.
And that's the thing. See, it's ironic, I think, that, Chronicles of Darkness, World of Darkness, and they all claim to push towards this certain type of thing. And because people are trying to create that thing, it happens.
It happens.
But it's not in the rules. That's not what's doing it. The thing I like about the rules isn't that. It's that for most situations, in the flow of things, you can say, okay, that's probably strength plus, but, it's that stat plus that, or possibly two attributes in some cases, that's your dice pool. So that without having to kind of get into the sort of minutia of I'm going to spend 15 minutes looking through this book and cross-reference it with this thing. Yeah. But without it being a very simple narrative game where you're trying to cut out all the rules. Because they don't try to cut it out. They just try to make it accessible.
It really is. It can be. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
But it can be the mechanics of damage and armor.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of subsystems and stuff.
There's a lot of minutia and there are a lot of books.
Sure.
There are a lot of books.
Sure. But the core system, aside from the fact that it has changed in little hard to remember ways from edition to edition, is relatively, kind of the same in a way. If the core system, you kind of know it, whether you're talking about vampire or werewolf.
And I think actually the way even building your characters wasn't too complex. That was an effective means for generating your character relatively quickly. So I felt like when I did the few die rolls that I did, trying to, from a character we set up 2 hours ago to get into a game and to be able to play the game.
Right.
Pretty cool.
But, so this system has been criticized. That's the word I'm looking for. Oof. This system has been criticized by some to some people were thinking about it kind of angry over time because they felt like it was being disingenuous. They felt like once we sort of learned some of these mechanisms for how to bring story, how to bring theme, how to bring mood into a game, then they look back and they look at these very traditional games, which really, if you think about it, this is still a very traditional game.
Absolutely.
They look back at it and be like, they promised us this big, it was literally called the storyteller system, you know? They promised us this story and narrative oriented game, and the reality is that it's not doing anything differently than its predecessors, you know? Even what you added in terms of the resolve roll and getting the conditions, that's a pretty standard piece, right? And is more setting oriented than it is mechanical. Now, I agree with you. I think this is kind of what we're talking about, right? We're talking about there's games like this that you've been running for a long time, and you run also in a number of ways. But you and I look at games like Coriolis and Alien, and they do have pretty strong mechanics that help bring forth that sort of hard piece, right? Stress mechanics and things like that. So I don't know. I think it's, well, do you feel like you have to layer some structure? Do you have to, what is it here that brought the heart, since we're talking about heart?
I think for me, it was that, the idea that my character was in a broken or fugue state when he failed the role. I think the critical failure added a level of intensity. And then you're like, wow, okay, so how do I react to this? And I think the idea that Jamie therefore can assume control of my character or my response to my character until I gain my...
Yeah, conditions are oftentimes kind of a way that in past games where it's, or especially with some characters like to run towards the trouble and they collect conditions like, trading cards or whatever. It's going to be kind of fun as a
small.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I agree with you. The system doesn't push towards it. Like the way I introduced horror from my perspective, a lot of it was actually, although it could have played out actually a number of different ways, but, was a kind of grab bag of increasingly weird, clues and hints that, point in a certain direction. But it could have gone, there's quite a few ways that it could have gone differently.
But I like the birds. I like the dogs.
I know. I think it was all very creepy and like I was trying to take it in a lighter direction in the beginning only for that juxtaposition.
Yeah, no, it worked well for the character. Yeah.
Sort of channeling by Paul Rudd. But I think this is another example of exactly what we were talking about before, though, is that this is that cult of personality GMing. Where
I forgot to call it that. But
it's because you're good at running this kind of game.
Right.
And you knew what words and what the scene, you could visualize it and then communicate that, right?
Yeah.
But the system didn't hurt you, right? I think there's some system that hurt you.
Yeah. Or slow you down. Like that can be I think one of the issues with D&D. Like I can run a pretty good story-based game using D&D, but it's challenging. When you have combat that gets so nitty-gritty with those certain things without pushing towards outcomes that are story.
Yeah, a limited wound system. I think so. I want to answer that question, and the question is, it does have a few things in that you hit on one of them is a limited wound system and a death spiral, right? So the conditions, mounting conditions, your willpower and your health going down, very different. Doesn't seem like it in the outset.
But we didn't get to it in this session, but it's definitely easier to die. And also when you have wounds, they do have, this is one thing when people have been playing D&D or something for a while and they play COD or World of Darkness for the first time, it's always like, wait, it takes how long for my character to heal? Right. It's like, it's still not really, it's still movie logic. It's not real world logic if you get shot, but it might be a week or 2 weeks,
Right. So I do think that adds to this kind of game more so. And, we understand where the tropes of hit points come from, but they can be a little challenging to run a game with some sort of sense of danger or mortality, right? Or physical stakes, because you're like, I have 200 hit points.
Yeah. I'll can short rest and, 15 minutes and I'll be back to mostly better.
Right. I mean, I'm always a fan of massive damage saves.
Yeah, remember.
Right.
In Dark Sun.
Right. So when we were running 5e, that Dark Sun campaign, which was meant to be a survival horror.
Sure.
And that was a big part of it.
And exhaustion was a big tool for that. Yeah.
And you guys were just piled with disadvantage, and
right.
Are means that you have to bring that stuff into the narrative, right? To make the players feel it. I had I think I told you this. I did tell you I had a player once who were playing D&D, and I described, she cast Fireball, right? And it came right up. It's a grid system, right? So the Fireball kind of came right up to where the character's model was.
Right.
I was like, oh, well, heat comes at you, and you have to kind of step back a little bit because it was a little closer. And the player was like, no, because I'm a mage. I know exactly how far that's going. And you know what I mean? And I was trying to add a layer of drama.
Yeah, it's just coloring. Yeah.
But I mean, she was right. I mean, everything is so prescribed.
Yeah.
There's no mystery to magic. And again, that's just a trope of the genre. Right? Maybe a GM would run that differently if it was a horror game.
Right. I mean, that's something with D&D that I won't get too much into it, but I have gone back and forth with because the rules are written in a way where it makes sense for you to want to this is 30 feet by 30 feet area and quote unquote metagame that way, but the game is designed to metagame in that way. So
that's how you're playing the game.
Right. Exactly. So it's kind of that's what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah. Is there anything else that we wanted to cover in terms of structure and why we're trying to look at games that have these meta-narrative structures too?
I think you're right about the fact that it doesn't push on those things, and yet can be used to push on those things. I think I'd like more is actually when we get into more games to reflect back on this because on the one hand, it doesn't push in those directions, but it also, like you say, I guess you did say this it leaves it open for it without interfering with it. So, maybe it's a cult of personality style. I don't know if I'd call it that exactly, but, but if you have a sense of the kind of story that you're trying to tell with people and they have that buy-in, a system that doesn't stand in the way of it isn't necessarily a problem. Although, you have shown me the light in terms of the fact that the systems, that push in those directions can also be a lot of fun.
I will tell you, while I was predisposed to think in such ways, I am really surprised in certain games that I've played how much they have affected the way I play other games, no matter what it is.
Blades was that way, definitely. I've borrowed a lot of ideas from that.
Yeah, had a huge impact.
Yeah.
And Powered by the Apocalypse. While I don't run a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games, just the idea of partial successes creates a tension in the game and an uncertainty in the game that has really informed my gaming. So even when I run Pathfinder or D&D, I actually include a scale in there where this is a complete success and then partial failure.
I've tried to play this relatively straight, but I do have
it was important.
But I've been inspired by Blades and several things where I also tend to have a sort of at least a mental idea, if not written down, sort of what's the difference between 1 and 3 successes? And they do have exceptional successes and stuff, but it's because they don't really have a partial success system. I'd like to add that sort of thing, at least that sort of vibe into it, where it's your character intends this thing. If you get at least 1 success, unless there's something pushing back against that, it's a quote unquote success, but it doesn't mean that it happens exactly the way you intended. There might be things. Whereas if you get 5 successes, it's tell me what happens.
Absolutely, right? There can be some dialogue there.
Right.
They dropped the rule where one's took out successes.
Right. I kind of like that, but it's because it creates this weird backward thing where if your pool gets bigger, you also have more of a chance of having a dramatic failure.
But instead, what you could do is you could use that as an opportunity to say the GM has some narrative control there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe something extra happens. Maybe, again, in these games, GM shift or something.
Yeah, something I've kind of playing the bone cycle systems we've been kind of working with and playtesting.
Yeah, but it's also interesting because there's this interesting balance of like de-incentivizing high pools.
Mm-hmm.
So like I play a character that has a pool of 9 for his dexterity larceny roll.
Right. That's his thing.
That's his thing. And he's really, really good at it. But in this kind of setting, it's easy to be like, but it adds some chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
yeah, I like that.
And
that's why when I usually I use the old rules a lot of times in terms of subtract successes with ones for that reason.
Yeah, but I am suggesting like maybe using that one instead.
Yeah, as a twist.
To give the GM some a latitude, right, to do something.
Yeah, I'll play that a little bit.
Tweak vices, right, or something to that effect.
And that's another thing we didn't get into too much with virtues and vices, but I feel there's a good idea there, which is used a little more in the system. Like I remember back in the old World of Darkness games, a lot, maybe it was just how we played it, but like a lot of times those sort of things didn't come up to the play nearly as much as it seemed implied in the books. I do find it happens more with this version just because it does actually build up your willpower. It's a very straightforward mechanism for that, but it still doesn't seem to really get into what a virtue and a vice is for that character.
Right. Right. Yeah, we didn't really, we used them as touchstones. But we didn't really engage with those mechanics as much.
But we don't have to be one scene for an hour.
Right, it was 1 second an hour, exactly.
All right, that was fun. All right, that was fun.
Guys.
I haven't done that in a while. Yeah, it's good stuff.
You have been listening to another episode of the Modern Mythology podcast. We hope we gave you something new to think about that you can bring to your RPGs, writing, and other character-based games and art forms. Produced by James Kershaw. Soundtrack by Scott Landis and James Kershaw. For more information about this episode, articles, or links to our other related projects, visit modernmythology.net.